What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how wide receivers can run a perfect comeback route. We're going to be talking about the exact technique of a comeback route and then drills to work on each phase of this specific route. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Let's get started. Now, before we get started with this video, fellas, we are going to be traveling out to 15 more states this year for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So check out that very first link in the description below if we are coming to a city or state near you and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches. We're going to be traveling out to San Francisco, California. Then we'll be heading out to Miami, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, Charlotte, North Carolina. Then we'll be coming out to Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and then we'll be finishing it off in Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to any one of those cities and would like to train with us for 2 whole days, 8 hours of work, fellas, again, check out that very first link in the description below. Let's get back to this video. All right, guys, so like I said, how this video is going to go down is we're going to break down pretty much the technique and the different phases of a comeback route and then give you specific drills to work on those phases of the route. So obviously on a comeback route, like usually this route is probably like 15 back to 12. For those of you that don't know, like let's say there's a quarterback over here to my left, a comeback route is when you would drop your hips and break like away from the quarterback, turning your back. A curl, you'd break to the inside. A comeback, you were breaking to the sideline, right? So now there's 3 phases of this specific route. The first phase is going to be selling vertical, right? So like, let's say my break is at 15 yards from the start of the route. Let's say the DB, there's no press coverage, nothing. He's off in zone coverage all the way till 15 yards. I'm trying to make that DB in zone coverage think that I am running a fade. So I have to run full speed. I got to make sure I'm running with big strides and my body language stays the same. I don't want to be that guy that's running really tall, nice and slow, or gets all the way to the break point and then starts to raise up. I want to keep the same pad level, same speed all the way to the break. So that's the first phase. Now, the second phase of the route is going to be the energy creation phase, or AKA the break, the hip drop, right? So when you get up into that 15-yard break, you have to be able to put the brakes on a dime, drop your hips, and we're going to be giving you great drills in a second here to work on both of those phases. And then the last phase of the comeback route is coming back to the ball. Like usually the break is 15 back to 12. So you going from 15 back to 12 or 18 back to 16, whatever the depth of the comeback is, you have to accelerate back to that ball. And we're going to give you a great drill to work on that phase of the route as well. So now this first drill is called red light, green light. So you're going to need a partner for this drill. You could do this by yourself, but you would need cones for this. But honestly, this drill, you don't need cones. All you need is a partner yelling the words drop. So this works on you guys selling fade and trusting your hips to slow you down on a break. Because one of the things that gets a lot of wide receivers locked up on a route like a comeback is right before the break point, they'll run, but they start to prepare for the break. They start to slow down. They start to take choppy steps. They raise up. All those indicators that take away from us selling fade. You guys have to trust your hips. The change in level, the change in your center of gravity is what slows you down on a route like this. So all you're going to do, you need a partner, like I said. And again, if you don't have a partner, just set up a cone where you're going to break. You'll know what I mean by when I say this in a second. So your partner's going to say go. You're taking off full speed as if you were running 100 yards downfield. Then what your partner's going to do, and I'm going to show you how this drill will look full speed. But you're going to be running full speed. Partner's going to yell drop. You're going to drop. And you could take as many steps as you want, but you're getting used to the change and the center of gravity slowing you down. So a good position that I tell my wide receivers to try to get to, pretend like you're playing musical chairs. I'm sure all of you have seen the game musical chairs. Music stops, what do? You sit down, right? You want to play musical chairs and bring your chest to your quads. You want to sit down and bring your chest to your quads. That's a good position. Don't want the knees over the toes. Don't want to bend and get my chest over my knees because that will cause wasted steps at the break. So this is a great drill to work on that hip drop, slowing you down on a comeback. I'm going to show you how this is going to look full speed. All right, guys, so when you're running this comeback route and you're running this route off of like steps, for example, so like let's say your comeback break, it's against zone coverage, you don't got to worry about press, you don't have to worry about getting to a landmark, you're running a route off of steps, like your 4th inside step, 3rd inside step, whatever the case may be, that first step, like when you get to that 4th inside. So what I mean by 4th inside, that's called the trigger step. So that's the step that kind of triggers your hips into dropping on this specific break to get us in and out as fast as possible. That's that explosive hip drop. Now, the last drill was obviously working on selling vertical and trusting your hips. This is more so working on the specific steps needed to get you out of the comeback break as fast as possible. And that's what these next 3 drills are going to be working on. So that trigger step, for example, let's say you're breaking off of your 4th inside. So you come up, quarterback's over here, left foot's up, that's your inside foot. So you're only counting the steps you take with the inside foot. I know a lot of you younger guys probably run routes off of yardage. As you get older, especially when you get to that college level, everything is so timing based, and a lot of your routes, when it's not press coverage, are going to be based off of steps. So you might as well get comfortable with it, because this is a terminology you will eventually have to learn. Running routes off of steps is much more efficient and faster when you get the hang of it. It's going to be a little weird at first, but I suggest you get the hang of it now. So now, again, inside foot, we're only counting the inside steps. So we're not counting that step. That's my 1st inside, 2nd inside, 3rd inside. Then on the 4th inside, that is when the hip drop happens, and that is what starts me to get out of this comeback break. So this drill is working on that trigger step that's dropping our hips into this break. So all you're going to be doing, you need 2 cones. Simple drill. You don't even need cones, to be honest with you. You just need open space. All you're going to be doing is you're going to be leaning into this break, because I would say the hardest part about the trigger step is having a good pad level leading into the break. A lot of receivers like to raise up and then drop. They find it hard to keep your chin down, chest forward, selling fade, and dropping right in stride. So this is kind of working on your pad level in terms of selling vertical. So all you're doing, hands behind your back, you are going to fall forward. But instead of dropping on 1 foot and keeping 2 feet in the ground, you're going to balance on 1 single foot. Not keeping 2 in the ground, balance on 1 single foot, because that trigger step requires a lot of stability and balance. So all you're going to do, you're going to be here, you're going to fall forward. Last second, you're going to drop, bring in your chest to your quad, try the best we can not to let my knee go past my toe, and you sit your butt down. That's a great drill to work on that trigger step. I'm going to show you how this is going to look full speed. All right, guys, so the first 2 drills we worked on were really based on getting into the break of the comeback, selling vertical, and then obviously the break point dropping on a dime so we could decelerate and make a sharp cut. Because on a comeback route, obviously, like let's say we're breaking 15 back to 12, I can't start my break at 15, drift up to 17, and then come back to 12. That drift gives the DB more time to recover and more time to react on this break. So that's why it's so important that we drop our hips. It's faster that way rather than a slow sink of your hips. That's why we want to be violent, but also it helps us cut sharper when we get low fast. So now when you get low, one of the mistakes that receivers will make, and that's what this drill is going to help us with, is they spend too much time at the top of the route. Now in a perfect world, a comeback route, and again, extremely difficult if you are not at the top of the game, like and I'm talking NFL wide receivers can't even do this type of break. In a perfect world though, and a lot of receiver coaches put an emphasis on this, hey, you got to get out of the break in 3 steps. Very, very challenging to do. It requires a lot of leg strength, ankle stability, balance, and requires very, very good technique. A lot of NFL wide receivers can't even get out of the break in 3 steps. But I'll tell you this, an NFL wide receiver, a high-level college receiver versus a high school receiver, you guys might take the same amount of steps, but they're getting out in little to no wasted time. Don't focus on steps. Focus on eliminating wasted time at the top of the break. And that comes down to you getting your hips out of the break faster, which is what this drill is going to be working on essentially. Because a lot of receivers, the mistake they'll make is they'll run up, they'll have this great trigger step, they'll snap down, but after they snap down, their toes stay pointed forward. Let's say I got to run the comeback this way, quarterback's over there. They'll take all these steps and then they turn, they pop up, and they lose so much dang speed and they waste so much damn time at the top of this break. So after you snap down, after that trigger step, you need to do something called a pivot hook step, and that's what this drill is working on. So again, this in a perfect world, you could maybe get out of this in 3 steps, but a lot of receivers, when they're focused on steps, they'll run into this break and they'll slow the way the hell down and they'll cut and they're like, oh, well, coach, I was out in 3 steps. Yeah, but you slowed down 3 yards before the break point actually happened, and that made the DB slow down, and he could care less if you take 3 steps. You gave the route away. You have to attack it and you have to break. But the second step is what's important. If you take 5 steps, but you're getting your hips out fast, I could care less. So what I mean by this is when you snap down, let's say this is my trigger step. My second step, my toes don't want to be pointed forward. My second step wants to get my hips out of the break. I snap down, pivot, hook, out. Now you're probably going to take a couple extra steps after the pivot and the hook, but at least your hips are flipped. At least you're down on that 45 to get you out of this break. So this drill is working on those specific steps. So all you're doing, pretty simple drill. You need 1 cone. Don't even need a cone. Just need an object. All you're doing is you're going to fall, and you're going to work that. You're going to do that fall like we just did on that last drill, and you're going to pivot and hook your feet. So you're going to be here, fall, pivot, hook, You're going to balance in this position. Make sure your feet stay inside of your shoulder frame. Do not do this pivot hook and land with your foot really wide. That's a great way to slip, and that puts a lot of pressure on your knee when you're running at a full speed. So now, again, I'm going to show you this one more time. So you're going to fall into it, you pivot, you hook, in a position ready to drive out. I'll show you how this drill is going to look full speed. All right, guys, so this next drill is going to be working on the last phase of a comeback, and that is going to be the acceleration phase out of the break. So one of the mistakes that wide receivers will make is, like, let's say they got man-to-man coverage or even zone coverage. They'll break into this comeback, they'll snap down, they'll get out of this thing, but they just kind of expect the ball to be right there. They're not racing back to, like, where the end of the route is. Like, if it's 15 back to 12, I need you freaking racing back to 12. If it's 18 back to 16, I need you racing back to 16. It's a race between you and the DB to the spot where the quarterback is throwing the ball. And if you can come out with that same consistent speed to 12 yards every single time, you know what the quarterback's going to be able to do? He's going to be able to anticipate where you're at. He could get the ball out quickly and just put it on the spot, confidently knowing that you're going to get there. And that leads to more receptions for us, because that's more targets and more trust with my quarterback. So this drill builds off of the last one to work on that acceleration, because the reason why a lot of guys don't accelerate is they don't drive off of their feet. Whether it's 5 steps, whether it's 3 steps, 4 steps, however many steps you take at the break point. Guys, when we break, so you're going to be doing that same snap, that fall pivot hook, but now we're going to be driving back. So you're going to drive back maybe about, like, I would say 5 yards. So I'll put a cone there. So this will be like kind of a good landmark for you guys. So put a cone maybe like 5 yards away from this land point. If you have a quarterback, I recommend having him throw you a ball in this so you get used to it. All you're going to do is you're going to fall, you're going to pivot, hook, and this hook step, you're going to drive and pump those arms and accelerate all the way back to that 45-degree angle, whether it's like 15, 12, 18 back to 16, just to get us used to running out of this comeback break after we drop. So I'm going to show you how this drill is going to look full speed. All right, guys, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to train with us this year in 15 different states for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps, again, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to see you out at one of our off-season camps. I'll see you guys next time.